All right, guys, here's some good news. FL Studio 2025.2 is officially here. There are a few features that I want to show you guys, mainly Fruity Slicer 2 and the new plugin called Emphasis as a smaller version. And we'll show you a new patcherize feature as well. Those are the standout updates. Now, everything else is cool, but it's not a standout thing. So I only want to cover stuff that you guys actually care about. So firstly, let's open up what's called Fruity Slicer 2. Apparently, I missed a couple buttons from before if you watched the first video. So what we want to do is, I think you can drag stuff into here. I'm not sure we can just right click and load a sample into Fruity Slicer 2 like we used to be able to for Slicer 1. So I think they've separated that. Let me load up a sample. All right, here's a sample. So we used to be able to right click. Oh, okay, now they've added a new feature where it says open in Fruity Slicer 2. So you have the decision to open in Slicer 1 or Slicer 2. So let's open in Fruity Slicer 2. That's handy to open it from the browser. That saves a lot of time. All right, now it's going to auto chop for us. Now, before I missed this little all button. So apparently you can click the all button and make changes here, like a filter change or an attack change, and it will affect all of the slices. That was one of my frustrations from before, because you would make a change on pad 1 and you had to do the same thing to pad 2. Now, I'm not sure they have it looks like they changed the styles of playing. So we're going to mess with this. I don't know if this looks different. So let's change out the slices. Can we change the way it slices? So firstly, I want to make sure that we're at the right BPM. Now it automatically put a BPM in here. I think it's at 139. We should be able to use our MIDI controller to trigger these. Now, I'm going to warn you guys, there are some huge flaws with Fruity Slicer 2. Firstly, I'm using an 88 key keyboard and my lowest note triggers pad number 22. So for whatever reason, they decided to assign these notes all the way down to like C0, which is like C-2 according to everybody else's DAW. My keyboard does not go that low. Even if I go to the settings here and try to fix this by offsetting, it just changes the tuning and it actually doesn't help me reach the keys at the bottom. So basically, if you're using a MIDI controller, this is almost impossible to use because you can't target the lowest note. So it becomes really unusable. So I hate to bust the bubble, but another thing here is it tends to assign the wrong BPM to the sample. So this is important for example, if we go over here to like quarter beat, and then we try to slice this again. I can't even trigger these. There we go. Now it lets me trigger these from a different starting point, which is weird. So when you have a lot of slices, I guess it maps them across all the way down to C0. If you have less slices, it gives you the middle of the keyboard. So it's a little weird. I mean, I understand why they did that. I would rather, as a user, it max out at the top than to have it pitch down all the way where I can't even trigger the first chop. It doesn't make any sense to me. So that's a huge kind of like workflow flaw in my opinion. As you guys can hear, it sounds like a chipmunk. And that's because the BPM is incorrect. Actually, let's switch the time stretch here. And I'm just playing middle C like it tells me to play here. So let's reset that. There we go. Now we got the tuning. So that's one way to get around the fact that if you have a big sample, you're trying to chop it up like Serato, but you can't play all the samples. That's the way to kind of revise this, is to make less slices. It's not a huge deal, I guess, but it kind of breaks the whole point of using it, in my opinion. Okay, another thing here is it doesn't detect the BPM. So what I would love if this plugin, its maximum form, you know, I'm not asking them to drop plugins perfectly right away, is like Logic Pro Sampler, for example, where there's a sensitivity slide. So for example, right here, this has been the same slicing mode since years ago. And again, even if I play my lowest key right here, and I just did the regular sensitivity mode, I can't trigger all of the notes. This is the lowest note I could trigger. So we're missing 21 slices because I can't trigger that low note. And all we did was the normal slice mode. So that's why I say it's a cool plugin, but it still needs work, in my opinion. I don't want you guys to like get frustrated like I was. Okay, so just be warned. Now the second thing is we need an updated slider. We need some kind of thing that detects transients based on some kind of threshold of volume or something. I'm sure that's how Logic's works. You know, when it has that transient slider. Let me show you guys how Logic works. I just want to show you guys what Logic has, just so you understand the concepts that I think Fruity Slicer is moving toward. It's just not there yet. So here's Logic, and the lowest note I'm playing is like C1, if I had to guess, or C0. C1 is the actual MIDI note. So I'm not all the way down my keyboard. I'm like, you know, at the second to last octave at the bottom here. See how it has so much more of a bop? And what we could do is go to slice mode here, and we could change out different ways that we affect the sample. So for example, if I zoom out a little bit and swap out what's called the sensitivity, you see how it changes the way it slices. So this is kind of what FL Studio has been doing with their kind of preset slices here. When you click this drop down, you could do dull, which is like, you know, different transient values, medium and sharp. But we haven't had this updated in years, probably a decade or so. And I think that's where they need to focus, because this makes, like, Logic's transient detector makes this so much more easy to chop samples. Like if we want more transients, more. And then also too, we have this gate thing, which means I could hit a note. So I could let go of the note, or I could play to the end. So it's going to play the whole sample all the way through every time I trigger. So we're using this almost like a trigger. Now that overlaps very quickly, but the gate mode is very important. And that's all we would need in FL. We do have some time stretch in FL, but it's not this. You know, we need the sensitivity slider for us to really be able to use the power of the Fruity Slicer 2, in my opinion. So there's some obvious flaws. The main flaw, though, that will frustrate the crap out of you guys, I'm telling you, when you download this, it's going to frustrate you, is you can't trigger the low notes by default. Maybe there's a way, but it's not obvious, and that should be obvious. Okay, so I just want to warn you guys not to get upset about that. Okay, so now that we have all this, what we can do, what I missed before, is this all button. So the all button basically allows us to, and let's slice by like more dull. There we go. So the all button allows us to trigger all the pads. So hit all, and we could change the values, like the attack time. So now all the pads will have their attack, and we could transpose all the pads. So before I was incorrect. I didn't see that button before. So we can do the Wonder Girl technique. But again, it's like, it doesn't know the BPM of the sample, and then it tells us to set the BPM. I don't know the BPM of this random sample. Then it says sample length, I don't know. And then over here, we say slice modes. Even if we slice it by the half beat or the quarter beat, it's gonna be off beat because the sample, we don't know the BPM of the sample. So it just kind of makes this kind of pointless, in my opinion. So I'm just giving you guys like a reality of this. I just don't want to glamorize this because it might frustrate a lot of people. Okay, now that you guys know the frustrations that I've had, let's go and record something real quick. So somebody told me before, you need to set the BPM in Fruity Slicer 2. We don't know the BPM. I think that's kind of the whole point of sampling. You don't know the BPM. So you can right click. You can right click to play each thing. Let me just right click to make sure there's no hidden functions, because before you could right click here and select all. I saw that before. And let's try what's called the hold parameter. So hold tends to overlap the samples. Okay, whereas play to the end, it just plays whatever you trigger, and that will overlap, I assume, with another slice. Or it looks like you have to actually play to end, and you have to have hold on. Because right here, I don't even know who would use that in that way. Maybe like a live performer or something, but. Okay, so play to end really doesn't make a difference, especially when you are not holding it. That really doesn't make any difference. Unless, I guess, you have like a ton of chops, for example, like maybe you have right here where it just keeps playing. So this is good for like if you have a ton of slices, the play to the end feature. So again, it does need a lot of work, in my opinion. The main thing, again, is that this transient detector, some kind of time warp, or a BPM detector, or at least a rough BPM detector. I feel like that would help this, because there's no way we would know what the heck BPM it is. All right, so without further ado, let's try to make something out of this. Now, there's another plugin called Emphasis, which is like a limiter plugin. So let's just create like a little, let's record this. So So just something basic. Okay, let's send this to the mixer. Hit Control L. Let's open up what's called Emphasis. Whoop, wrong button. I did not press that. My mouse slipped. Let's go to Emphasis. So this is a smaller version of, or was it Emphasizer? Maybe it's Emphasizer. Okay, this is a smaller version of the Emphasis plugin, which you guys just saw. This is a simplified limiter. So if you have to correct your drums or correct your mix, just throw this on. You can add soft clipping. Now this limiter, I really don't hear it to the ear. It's not like, it's very subtle. I think the goal is to be transparent. So as you guys can hear, I'm just making it louder. So this is just like a make it louder button. Really simple, just straightforward. Now, another thing some people ask for is, let's say you duplicate this. Let's do this. Let's just like, I'll add a bunch of plugins here. All right, so I think Shansi, I don't know how to say it, forgive me. He kind of made fun of this with his TikTok reels and stuff, where he would add like 1,000 reverbs. So what they've done in the mixer is basically allow us to have more space. So you guys know it kind of maxes out at 10 effects per channel. In real life, guys, if you're using like 10 effects on one thing, you're just, I can't say you're doing something wrong, but you shouldn't have to do that much unless you're really sound designing on a really high level. You're not using 10 slots for anything. But let's click here on the drop down. Let's go to Patcherize All, and we're just gonna click here, and it will add all of those things into one pathway for you, so you can free up some space inside of your mixer channel. So again, I would really only do that for sound design purposes. There's really no reason to do that unless maybe you're creating like some kind of creative chain and you want to automate that chain. So basically, if this was like a custom effects chain, I might automate this over time and then bring out another effects chain and automate that over time. That I could see it making more like real life sense. For the average person trying to buy more space, again, you're probably doing something wrong. So as you guys can tell, I hate to be like the bearer of bad news. It's just this release, I know it's just a simple update. I know the stuff is free. I just wish they would focus on stuff that actually moves the goalpost instead of stuff that like corrects stuff that nobody really talks about or uses. That's just my critique on FL Studio in general. I just think they kind of lost the innovation thing and kind of went for doing what's safe. And they started focusing on FL Cloud, which makes sense because they took so long to add good sounds to their DAW. But it's like DAW updates are not FL Cloud updates, and vice versa. FL Cloud updates are not DAW updates. I don't have FL Cloud, therefore it doesn't affect the DAW. So when they say 2025.2, they're really talking about cloud got an update, and they just want to roll it out as a DAW update to get your attention. But in my opinion, these tools, just need more cooking, man. I'm not here to bash FL Studio. I'm not here to critique them to death. The developers work hard. I think they have a leadership problem and like a direction problem at ImageLine. I don't know what happened, but ever since like FL Studio 21, was it? Yeah, like the 21 to 24 jump, and actually it might have been FL 12. Let me know which comment you guys kind of lost track of FL Studio. It might have been the jump from 12 to 21, but I think that was pretty significant. I think it was the jump from 21 to 24. It's like they got that chord progression tool, and after that, it's just kind of like, what is FL doing at this point? I don't know. So I just hate to leave off on a kind of weird tone, but as you guys can see, these are real problems that need to be solved. I just can't tell you guys to rush to it because it's just like, I don't know, it still needs cooking in my opinion. Let me know your comments below. Peace out, guys.